Eric, what's the funniest bowl name out right now?
I really like the Pop-Tart Bowl.
Yes, that's probably the goofiest bowl name that I wouldn't mind participating in. Like the whole presentation, the trophy isn't the trophy like a toaster?
A working toaster.
Nice.
I would be using that bitch every day if I won it.
It's definitely better than the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Like, if I get invited to that, I'm like, no, I respectfully decline.
I'm
I'm
declaring for the
opting out.
draft.
Immediately.
How about you?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Dogs versus All Y'all, a college football podcast where we don't just talk about the Georgia Bulldogs, we talk about all things college football, hence all y'all. I'm Adrian. You already know it's no BS coming from me, and I am joined once again by my resident Alabama fan representing the Crimson Tide of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Eric, how you feeling, bro?
We're here live and live in color like we're a cult of personality, brother.
Happy holidays to you, man. Happy
holidays. Hope you and yours had a great one.
Definitely.
It was definitely a good one here.
All right, good.
Lots of NFL football to watch, but no college.
Some good games. Lamar's looking like the MVP to me.
MV3.
Amen. But we're not going to talk about NFL here, Eric. Not tonight. We will be talking about college football. Today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, we had a couple things on deck. We're going to definitely predict the quarterfinals of the college football playoff. Definitely some intriguing matchups and probably some matchups not so much. We will definitely be talking about who is the coach of the year. We're going to go ahead and decide out of college football who stood out, who's your coach of the year. We're going to also grade out the first round of the playoffs. Did it meet expectations? And more importantly, what would you do to change that first round? So, Eric, let's go ahead and get into it, man. First round of playoffs just went down. Perfect time, really, during the holidays. A lot of people watching, a lot of eyes, a lot of excitement. It was super cool seeing some home college football games. You know, the energy, you could tell the energy was rampant there in Notre Dame on Friday. You could tell it was rocking in Austin for that Texas Clemson game. Penn State tried doing their thing against SMU. And finally, I mean, this team really did surprise me, and we're going to definitely talk about it. Ohio State put it to the Volunteers of Tennessee and shut up a lot of people, including both of us, because I think both of us did pick against Ohio State. So, Eric, let's go ahead and get into it, man. What were your thoughts on the first round?
Boring as hell.
Okay. When it came to the games, going into it, the anticipation was definitely there.
Absolutely, but
the games didn't deliver.
Notre Dame, Indiana showed me on that Friday night. I was like, "Ooh, Lord, I hope this is the worst one of them." And then Penn State, SMU that next day, I was like, "Okay."
Mm-hmm.
And then Texas and Clemson right after that, and I'm like, "Please, God, please save us at the end here with Tennessee and Ohio State." Nope, just got worse.
That was probably the one notable ass whooping. Like everyone won comfortably, but when you're talking about who came out of the first round looking like a serious contender, it's that Ohio State team.
Buckeyes. Yeah. Unfortunately, like you said, we did both pick against them, but they turned Neyland North back into the shoe.
They sent them boys packing, man.
Woo. I don't know if they just didn't get the right Tennessee fans up there or what it was. Man. Some of them probably couldn't get out on parole, I'm sure, but they turned Will Howard into a Heisman-looking candidate out there.
The thing is that, and we talked about this previously, but after seeing that Michigan game, a lot of us turned on Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
We pretty much sold them out. We were pretty much plotting for Ryan Day's demise as the coach. We're already fantasy booking who's going to be the next coach. Is Urban Meyer coming out of retirement? Is Belichick somehow going to make the play to be Ohio State's coach? Like, we were just completely counting them out. And I think us, along with a lot of college football analysts as well as fans, didn't take into account a full month of getting trashed, a full month of getting questioned, a full month of getting challenged as a team, as coaches, as individual players, and as an overall organization. That kind of stuff, that kind of stuff lights teams up, gets them pissed off, gets them salty. And that's what I think I did text you that. I was like, man, Ohio State looks salty.
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't trust Ryan Day. I'll be completely honest, as in maintaining that level of saltiness that we've seen out of Kirby. We've seen that of guys like, the GOAT, Saban. We've seen that of the greats. But we saw shades of that in that game. He was going for the juggler constantly, putting pressure on them. And Ohio State's back in the mix as a dangerous team, and they got a very interesting matchup going into this weekend.
Oh yeah,
or going into Wednesday. They're definitely got an interesting matchup because they have some get back. They got some motivation. So, I don't know, but a lot of people are complaining about these matchups, Eric. Obviously, some people are complaining, hey, SMU gets ran out of there. They shouldn't have even been in the playoff. Get a lot of people saying the same thing about Indiana. I know on the podcast, you agree with me in saying, hey, the right 12 teams actually got in. If Alabama took care of business like they should have been in this playoff. No question about it.
Yep.
Miami messed up twice.
Yep.
One of those games was completely, you can't defend it. You can't defend losing to Georgia Tech.
Nope.
I'm sorry, Georgia Tech fans, but that's just the truth. That's the reason why they're not in the playoff. So has your stance changed after this first round?
Nah. I mean, it's just like if you watch the NFL, if let's just say Green Bay, if they get clapped in the first round of the playoffs, did they not deserve to be there? Just because you lose a playoff game to me doesn't mean you don't deserve to be there, unless you're Clemson. I will go ahead and say unless you're Clemson, because Clemson did not deserve to be in the playoffs. But no, if Bama would have took care of business, they'd have been there. If Ole Miss would have took care of business, they'd have been there. If South Carolina would have took care of business earlier in the season, they would have been there. If Miami would have took care of Georgia Tech, they would have been there. So it's hard to say that these aren't the 12 best teams, even though theoretically we know that number 12 slot is not one of the top 12 teams, but they get it off a technicality. But I wouldn't have changed anything outside of, SMU actually handling Clemson and figuring our lives out there.
Honestly, I'm still sticking to my guns. I think those were the 12 teams. It's extremely difficult. It's almost impossible for me to argue against a one-loss Big Ten team not to make the playoffs.
Yep.
Like the one team that they lost to just came out this first round looking like they may win the national championship. So I get where the arguments are of, well, it's a blowout. Guys, every year it's a blowout. When it was the final four, one of those games was damn near guaranteed a blowout every single year. Just look back at it,
Didn't y'all win a national championship 52-7?
Yep. Basically.
I mean,
even more. Was it 63-7?
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so did TCU not belong?
and that's the weird thing. People were saying that. People were like, they didn't deserve to be in it. They beat Michigan. They beat an undefeated Michigan team. What the hell are y'all talking about? But, that's neither here nor there. I will say, if there was one thing that this first round actually exposed, was the flaw in the determination of the top 4 seeds.
Absolutely.
Because there's no excuse in no world should Boise State and Arizona State have to or have a off week while you have Tennessee, Ohio State battling, while you have, I understand why Notre Dame can't be one of those Final Four because they don't have a conference championship. I get that. But that would probably be the one thing that I would change is how do you determine the top 4 seeds? If you want to go ahead and say, if you're a conference champion, you have an automatic bid, yes. But when it comes to the top 4 seeds, it should flat out be the top 4 teams in your ranking.
Absolutely.
Even if you don't win the conference championship, because like you just finished saying, Clemson didn't deserve to be in the playoff in your opinion, but they won the ACC. So by their rules, Clemson definitely deserved to be in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
But all these conferences aren't the same. That's just the facts. I know people want to make the arguments, but it's honest to God, it's 2 big dogs and everybody else. That's literally what it is, and it is what it is, So that would be my one change, because I kind of think because of this, because you gave Boise State and Arizona State a week off, you're putting yourself in a predicament where it may be 2 blowout games in these quarterfinals. I don't want to say that, but I kind of think that way right now. That's kind of where I'm leaning.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we've, I've said it all year, but it's yet to be done. If you can stop Ashton Genty and Boise, it's over. So if I'm Penn State, I'm 8 in the box, 9 in the box. I'm blitzing 12. We're going to 0 blitz. We're going to call people from the stands to blitz. So yeah, I'm hoping, just for how big of the deficit all of the games were, because the closest victory was by 10, and that's
didn't
crazy.
Look like it, and it didn't feel like it at all.
And that was just because Indiana got garbage time touchdowns. For the entertainment's sake, I hope that these games are close, but you've already got Texas opening up a 2 touchdown favorite. Penn State's opening up 11-point favorite. So
yeah. Well, we're definitely hoping for the dramatic, for sure. But before we go into our coach talk, let's talk about the biggest surprises and biggest disappointments of the playoffs. So, Eric, I'm going to give you the stage. Who is your biggest surprise in the first round of the playoffs so far?
I think it's just got to be that entire Ohio State team.
Okay.
I think, all the rat poisoning that us, as, like you said, as fans, as, just giving them the business. Who's replacing Ryan Day in the offseason? Who's, what's next for Ohio State? Who's next at Ohio State? There's no way that Tennessee's going to lose. Nico's a Heisman candidate. But just like Nick Saban said on game day, got to stop with the bullshit.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to win as much as coaches and players. It just is what it is. So I think my biggest surprise is the entire Ohio State team, because I did not expect them to come out and play as well as they did. Shout out to Julian Sayans, still can't hit the broadside of a barn. Glad he's out of Alabama. Wish you nothing but the best, but have fun up there. But yeah, that 2-headed combo of Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, that's deadly, man. That's deadly.
Yeah. Well, my biggest surprise It has to be Ohio State. I agree with you on there. They Ohio State's one of those frustrating teams to watch all this season.
Yeah.
They've clearly put in the money on the payroll. What are they claiming, like $20 million payroll and all that stuff.
Yep.
So they went into the portal, they got their guys, they paid whatever the hell they paid. But there are points where we see them being the most dominant team, but then you see games that are just head scratchers. And definitely with that offense, I think the defense for the most part has been playing solid enough football. I wouldn't say they've just been lights out all season, but their defense for the most part has held it down. It's just been the offense has been very inconsistent. But when you get somebody like a Jeremiah Smith going, that's an issue, man. That is a damn issue. You've already mentioned it. They have 2 NFL running backs. All you gotta do is keep Will Howard upright and confident, and they are an issue. So my biggest surprise would definitely be them. My biggest disappointment would probably be SMU's quarterback, Jennings. I really had high hopes. I did pick Penn State to win, but I thought SMU would at least make it a game because that quarter, I do like him. I like how they use him. He just didn't seem on it at all. At no point of that game did it look like, okay, he's heating up, he's tuning up. The whole damn time he was off, whether it was high, whether it was low, and worst of all, interception, turnover. Like he was a turnover machine. So, I think Penn State's defense is a good defense. Make no mistake about it. I know for a fact they have talent on that team because a couple of those guys transferred from my team. I know they have talent. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to act like it's just a surprise that Penn State wound up winning at home. It was just a big disappointment to see SMU not deliver something. They didn't give us anything for that game. So that, especially after coming back against Clemson. We kind of saw that game and we were like, okay, they did it against Clemson. We just got to wait for that play to open it up. And that shit never happened. So he's my biggest disappointment. I hope the best for the guy, but he's my biggest disappointment in the first round. What about you?
I will say those lights were just a little too bright for him. I think that was part of the problem. I got to stick in the same game. My biggest disappointment was Tennessee's offensive line. They could not keep Nico upright. They could not give Nico any time. I mean, if you thought for a half a second Nico might look and throw, somebody was on his ass. Like it as an Alabama fan, it thrilled me to watch him get plastered constantly. But as somebody that picked Tennessee, it kind of hurt a little bit. I was watching the game with a couple of other Alabama fans, and we're all like, do we root for Tennessee? Is this what we're doing? Like, because none of us want to root for Ohio State, but also none of us really want to root for Tennessee either.
I just want good football.
Yeah, and we didn't get that either. No. So I was really disappointed in them. It's hard to be disappointed in Nico because he was doing what he could.
Yeah.
I mean, bro was taking hits out the wazoo on scrambles.
And Sampson was out for a majority of that game. Like after the first series, he was out. So it kind of took away from, I mean, that's your leading rusher in the SEC. This is one of your winning points. He's not playing like 75% of the time. So yeah, it definitely tilted the favor in Ohio State, where they knew, okay, it's got to come through Nico. And I will give him credit. Right before halftime, he definitely put together a nice drive.
Yep.
You could see it, but that Ohio State offense was rolling, man. It wasn't it was one of those points where you needed to be efficient on offense if you planned on winning this game. And Tennessee definitely didn't do that. So
nope.
It is what it is. Oh well, Tennessee fans, cry about it next year.
Them goalposts are safe.
All right, next, let's talk coach of the year, Eric. It's been I would say it's been a fun, entertaining college football season this year.
Oh yeah.
A number of surprise teams, a number of improved teams, number of disappointing teams overall. But obviously, someone has to be coach of the year. It's a long list of deserving guys. But I'm asking you, Eric, in your opinion, who should be coach of the year?
So I'm giving it to somebody I think we both really enjoy watching as a coach. I got to give it to Fran Brown, man. He turned a Q's
Nice.
Yeah, dude turned a Q's program into a top 25 team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at times Syracuse looked dominant this year. Shout shout out to Kyle McCord.
Hey, that offense was rolling, man.
It sure was, man. You know, I know they finished fourth in the ACC, which, you know, hey, it happens. But for a first year coach, he did have a couple of bad losses. Shouldn't have lost to Boston College. Probably shouldn't have lost to Stanford. But he got Syracuse bowl eligible his first year.
Yep.
Kind of completely re-upped the Syracuse as a football program.
If they win tonight, that's a 10-win season.
Exactly. And, you know, they beat a top 10 team in Miami. They beat a top 25 team in UNLV. They beat a top 25 team in Georgia Tech. The week after they came back and, you know, stomped out Michigan, wasn't it? Georgia Tech started out with Michigan, right?
No. Georgia Tech started with Florida State.
Florida State, that's right. I knew it was one of the two disappointing teams. I just couldn't remember which disappointing team. I got to give it to Fran Brown, man. I really like what he's got going on in Syracuse. Yeah,
I feel that. I like that. I love Coach Fran Brown. When he was on Georgia's staff, all the buzz and all the hype about him as a recruiter, as a positions coach, as a defensive mind was always next level. He was always in high regard in his 2 seasons with us, and I'm super elated for him because he seems to be doing it the right way. Team building, going into the portal, getting some big guys. Getting some big name guys from winning programs. You get a Kyle McCord who was basically ran out of Ohio State. Look at how this has turned out for him. He's had a hell of a season.
Yep.
Jackson Meeks couldn't really ever get any rotation at wide receiver for the University of Georgia. He goes to Syracuse. He's one of the leading receivers in the ACC. Hell of a year. So we're pulling for him tonight. They play. Who are they playing against? You remember?
Washington State.
Yes, they play against Washington State. If they win, they're a 10-win season, man. That's a hell of a way to start off your coaching career. And he's from that area. He's you know, it's just like one of those perfect marriages. So we're pulling for you, Coach Brown. Shout out to you. Salute. And, you know, as long as you don't play Georgia or Bama, we'll definitely be pulling for you. My coach of the year, Eric, my coach of the year is in the Big 12. I think everyone's going to probably think I'm going leaning Coach Prime, but I'm not. I am going with Coach Dillingham of Arizona State.
Okay.
This team, Vegas odds, the media, hell, all of us completely counted out Arizona State this season. In his second year, he turns it completely around. figures out a way to get to the Big 12 championship, wins it, and he had a first round bye. Like that is phenomenal to go from where you were last year, where you were literally one of the worst teams out there for whatever reason, to this year being one of the best teams. And you got Scatterboo out there about to play a playoff game and talking his talk. I love it. Shout out to Coach Prime, though, because he definitely turned it around. They almost had a shot at winning the Big 12, but hey, that's how it goes. You got to win when you win. Dillingham is my coach of the year, but I think both of our picks are well deserving. I would definitely say honorable mention will be Dan Lanning. Obviously, he's the only undefeated coach in college football right now. Mm-hmm. Salute to him. And I'm trying to think of somebody else. It's kind of hard to say like Kirby did a great coaching job, but he really did, in my opinion, because of that team turnover. And after losing the way they did in Tuscaloosa, that's a tipping point for a lot of these teams. So a large number of these teams would have quit, would have packed it up. Hey, coach, I'm redshirting, whatever. I'm quitting. But that team kept fighting.
Yep.
And then they get their tails whipped in Ole Miss. That's another breaking point. But they put it together. They beat Texas twice, win the SEC championship, and now they're in the playoffs. So I would definitely say, even though I'm not going to say Kirby is coach of the year, I will say he definitely did a hell of a coaching job, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And with those injuries, just with the amount of injuries on that team. Yeah.
The problem is when you've got a guy like Kirby or a guy like Nick Saban, like it becomes the standard. Like, Georgia won 12 games again. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you never really get the look like, all of these other coaches do. It's expected of you at that point. Like if you're not winning 12 games, what are we doing?
Right. That's fair. Well, I didn't put this on the run sheet, but Eric, who's their biggest disappointment? Which coach is your biggest disappointment?
I can't say Kalen DeBoer. I can't say Kalen DeBoer. For all of these idiotic Alabama fans, you cannot say Kalen DeBoer. Jesus. Mike Norvell.
Yeah, I think that's the easy one.
You go from a potential, undefeated regular season last year to
ACC
losing
champs.
Jordan Travis, ACC champs, and then starting with the Orange Bowl when you sat your whole team's either sat out or declared for the draft, and then
that was rough.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it for the crybaby Florida State fans, the ones that were super obnoxious the whole going into the bowl game, even after what happened after the bowl game.
Yeah.
Mind you, the biggest bowl victory of all time, thanks to their team quitting. But they spent the whole offseason complaining and crying. And, it was kind of like, y'all start the season off. You lose to Georgia Tech. You're crying about DJ, even though those wide receivers are dropping everything. I told y'all that. And then once you did bench DJ, you saw it for yourself. Like, damn, why are the wide receivers still dropping stuff? And I'm like, yeah, DJ's not special enough to overcome that. And y'all saw that this whole season. So, I mean, it sucks. It sucks for them. I got friends that are Florida State fans. Shout out to those guys. But, it's just one of those things where team could never put anything together. Both coordinators got fired. So now he's on the Gus bus. So that's the last resort. That's the last one. But my pick for most disappointing Florida State is definitely an easy pick for me. But I'm going to say Ole Miss, Eric. I'm going to say Ole Miss. And the reason why I'm saying Ole Miss is after Georgia beat Ole Miss the previous season, Lane Kiffin said, for us to compete against a team like Georgia, Alabama, we have to change our mindset. We have to go get bigger, faster, stronger players. What we're currently doing isn't working. And I was all in on that. I said, you know what? That's showing you see where you're failing at. Let's make some changes. Let's get it going. Going into the season, a lot of us were hype about this Ole Miss team. They went into the transfer portal. They got some of the best out of the portal. If Walter Nolan, number one defensive lineman, goes to Ole Miss. Ole Miss picked up plenty of players from the transfer portal. So they looked the part. And I mean, hell, when they were on fire, like you saw what they did to Georgia. It wasn't a point where Georgia looked like it was going to be a competitive game. It was, we're better than y'all on the line of scrimmage. We're going to dominate you. We're going to score a couple points, and it is what it is. Deal with it. It was just one of those, you're facing a behemoth.
Yep.
And that's what that team should have been all season. But they messed up. They lost that Florida game. Didn't they lose to Kentucky? I want to say they lost to Kentucky.
I believe it was Kentucky.
Yeah, I think they lost to that Kentucky team. That was the unforgivable. Then to top off all of that, you're going toward the end of the season, and your coach flat out says, "Hey, I don't want to play in the SEC championship game because it's going to cost us a playoff run. We want to backdoor it." He publicly said that, and then lost
to Florida.
And then fucking lost to Florida. So with those losses, with the hype and build, combined with those losses, and your coach pretty much putting yourself out there like that, biggest disappointment for me. That was the biggest disappointment, because that Ole Miss team on paper is absolutely not only a playoff team. That team probably is playing in the national championship, in my opinion.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. So
because when they were winning, they were dominating
Alabama this year, so they could have easily skirted their way to the SEC championship.
They had
but
two
not
ranked
taking care
opponents.
of business cost them.
Yeah, exactly. It's so crazy. These SEC schedules, they're so crazy right now, man. Like, Texas's SEC schedule was bought and paid for. We all know that. And Ole Miss only had y'all and LSU to worry about. Like, come on, man.
Speaking of LSU, LSU is probably on my short list of disappointing teams also.
Yeah, LSU was kind of not great this year.
Yeah. I mean, the way Jalen Milrow went in there and he set that bitch ablaze, man.
He ate. And they were feeling it the next week after when they lost to Florida too. Like,
right. The following week you lose to Florida after. Yeah, man, that's a disappointing team also.
Shout out the second half Billy Napier, man.
Boy. Yeah, Napier definitely saved himself. He saved himself. He saved himself with some solid wins against some disappointing teams. So shout out to him. I'll gladly accept another year of Billy Napier at Florida.
I bet you will.
Yeah, I'll gladly accept that, man. All right, Eric, man, let's go ahead and get into these second round predictions. These are the quarterfinals of the college football playoffs. The winners of these games are going to the semifinals, being the Orange Bowl and the Cotton Bowl, I believe, right?
Yep.
Cool. So let's get into the first game Penn State looking dominant against SMU. Defense flying around against Boise State. First round by Boise State. The with the best running back in the nation. Eric, do you believe that Ashton Jeanty can actually produce at a high enough level to beat Penn State?
I want to say yes. I really do.
Okay.
I believe that Jeanty's faced a better run defense this year. You know, we talked about it last
Oregon.
podcast. Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. We talked about it last podcast. He hasn't got under 125 yards all year. I want to believe in Boise State, and I hate to say that. I really do. Man, I just think Penn State's going to be a little bit too much for him. I don't think it's going to be offensively because I still don't think Drew Aller's a great quarterback. Okay. I just think that Penn State defense is going to do enough work to Madsen where he's a little uncomfortable all night, and then it's going to rely on Jeanty, but I hope the lights aren't too bright for him. I want a good game. I think Penn State pulls it out.
Okay.
But I don't know. It could be sneaky. That Boise State team is sneaky in the Fiesta Bowl.
This is true. And they're wearing the Fiesta Bowl unis from when they beat Oklahoma. So maybe we get some nostalgia feels, and I don't know. I mean, Jeanty's clearly the best running back in the college football. I love his game. He's all about contact. He's all about collision. He runs violently, but he actually has speed behind him, which, you know, he's special. He's a special player. Salute to him because he's very close to breaking Barry's record. So he's special enough to make his offensive line look decent. I don't think that that offensive line is good enough to face Penn State's front seven. Those guys, those are high quality athletes. Those are special players on that side. Abdul Carter is one super special. Those linebackers, I think Penn State's linebackers are going to have a special game. Jeanty may get a play or two off, but yeah, I agree, man. I got Penn State winning this game, even though I would love to see Boise State win.
Yeah,
would love to see it. All right, next game, Eric. This is probably out of the 4 games we have, 2 we're kind of expecting it to get out of hand. We talked about one being that Boise State Penn State game. This is the other one. Arizona State, Texas. Now, the interesting thing about this game, Eric, Arizona State has a number of guys that are from the state of Texas. Arizona State has a couple guys that were, or one in particular, that was on the University of Texas and was basically given the boot. He said that you're not good enough to be here. You need to look elsewhere. So on the narratives end of the underdog, the salty underdog looking to prove a point, you got it over there at Arizona State.
Yeah.
And we got some questions about Texas. People are still talking about that SEC championship game. People are still talking about, hey, Clemson made it an interesting game for a little bit before Texas turned it up. But what are your thoughts? Who do you think comes out as the winner?
I think it just determines on which Texas team we see.
Okay.
Even in some of the wins that Texas has had this year, they've looked awful. I don't. This may be controversial, but I don't think Quinn Ewers is a great quarterback.
Okay. I don't think it's controversial at all. I was gonna say, you said that there are times where Texas doesn't look good or special. I would just go ahead and delete Texas and put in Quinn Ewers. There are times where he doesn't look special.
Because Because those couple games where Arch was running that offense, they were clicking. Now, granted, it was Texas, San Antonio, Louisiana, Monroe, Mississippi State, but I mean, there are games where Ewers didn't even hit 200 yards passing this year, and it's like he's supposed to be a top round quarterback, you know. I think if Scatabo can get it started on the ground, I think Texas might be in for some issues. But I think Texas does pull it out. Yeah. I just don't think Arizona State has the firepower.
Yeah. I see this should be a fun game in my opinion because Dillingham is a great offensive mind. And it appears looking from the outside looking in, it appears that he has full control of the pulse of that team. Like he has those guys juiced and ready to rock. You got a lot of salty players on that team. Scatterboo is one of them.
Yeah,
that dude is walking with a chip on his shoulder 24/7. Yeah, and he wants to ball out. But again, it's another one of those halves versus have-nots matchups, and I just don't see it where Arizona State just makes it. Arizona State needs to make it a slug. I mean, they have to make it a slugfest to stay in this game. I just don't see them having the horses behind that. Like, it sounds good talking about showing up salty and disrespect. It sounds good, but when you're standing right across from some dude that's 6'5", 265 pounds, 3% body fat, a kid that's a sure first rounder, it kind of hits different per se. So I don't know. I do have Texas winning. Unfortunately, I have them covering. I think right now it's 13.5.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't really see this being too much of a competitive game, at least for a half, and then I think doors are getting blown off on that game, personally. Okay, Eric. Next game, Rose Bowl. The classic Rose Bowl. This is a rematch between two Big Ten teams. Controversial ending to that first game.
Yep.
A call so controversial that the NCAA had to change a rule in the middle of a season, which should have been the reason why I say Dan Lanning is Coach of the Year, because nobody else has done that shit. But hey, it is what it is. We got Ohio State going into their rematch versus the Oregon Ducks, the number one team in the nation, the undefeated Oregon Ducks. Eric, how do you see this game playing out?
I want to say it's going to be the same game, but it's so hard to beat a team twice in a year. You know it. Yeah. I know it. I really don't want to say it.
Sounds
I gotta pick Ohio State, man.
Okay.
Just looking at how they blew the doors off of Tennessee. Now, granted, Tennessee gave them all of the bulletin board material, goalpost in the river, Neyland North, yeah. And Oregon, credit to Dan Lanning for being a fantastic coach. He's not letting any of that get out, get in, we're not doing any of that. I like DJ Gabriel. I really do. And I like Johnson. I like James. I like all their big stars, but it's just so hard to beat a team twice in a year. So hard. And Ohio State is going to have a revenge on their mind.
They definitely do. They're definitely motivated. Hell, we talked about it a little while ago, talking about going into that Tennessee game, what our expectations were. We were already counting out Ryan Day. All the while, he's pissing off his team that whole month. Got those boys pissing vinegar, showing up, ready to fight. The same thing's gonna happen. Yeah, the same thing's gonna fucking happen at the Rose Bowl. But I'm gonna pick the Ducks, man. I'm gonna pick the Ducks. I think that you're giving Dylan Gabriel and that offense a week off is good when it comes to the health of those receivers. I know Tez Johnson was a little banged up.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's healthy. I got some weapons on my outside. I got running backs. I got a motivated team.
Yeah.
And sometimes all it takes is for you to beat that team to say, hey, we got it. So even though beating a team twice, damn near impossible, history says, I think it's going to happen again. I got Oregon Ducks beating Ohio State in the Rose Bowl.
I hope you're right, man. I really, really do.
I think most of us want that to happen, but yeah, no, the way Ohio State looked, man, they looked legit. They looked legit, man.
I just don't want to look stupid when I go up against them.
Man. Yeah, man. All right, last game, Eric. We got the Sugar Bowl down there in New Orleans, my favorite city. Second home to Suplex Dinner Club is New Orleans. Shout out to them. We got the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, who took care of business against Indiana, playing against the SEC champion, Georgia Bulldogs, who are now starting backup quarterback, pride of Raymond County, Georgia, Gunnar Stockton. Eric, how is this game going to shake out? Let me know.
This is my most interesting game of the week, honestly.
Okay.
You know, we talked about it today. Somebody did a poll of the ranking the quarterbacks left to play, and they've got Gunnar Stockton last. Of course they do. We don't know much about Gunnar as a collegiate football player. He's only in garbage time when y'all are up, and then the second half of the Texas game where he looked solid.
Aside from that bonehead interception, that almost fucked us over.
That was not a good play.
Right.
But you know, damn those Catholics. I can't root for Notre Dame.
Okay.
There is nothing in my blood that's going to make me cheer for old Notre Dame. I hate that song.
Yeah.
I hate that team. Last time that they were in a playoff position, they got them cheeks clapped by my University of Alabama.
They did.
In the Natty.
They did.
They looked about as invisible as Manti Te'o's girlfriend at the time. So
preparing for the hate comments.
That's fine. I think Georgia's going to win this game, and I think Gunnar Stockton is going to show the Dogs universe, the Dogs Nation, whatever y'all call y'allself, what's in store next year. I do think Georgia wins by more than the projections.
Vegas has it 2.5 points right now.
I think it's 10 points.
Okay.
Fair. I watched a lot of Riley Leonard at Duke last year. I don't think he's got that dog in him. He's a solid quarterback. But, you know, solid only gets you so much when you line it up against 11 5-star recruits on that defensive side at Georgia.
Yeah. It's definitely different.
We've seen the competition in bowl games. I'm watching it right now. 6-6 Arkansas is up 21-3 on 8-4 Texas Tech.
Really?
Yeah, Arkansas is not a great team, but they're blowing the brakes off these boys. The SEC is just different, unless you're playing the Big Ten, because that's the only other big dog in the land.
Okay.
It's hard for me to pick against SEC teams when we're playing lesser competition. No offense, Notre Dame. No offense, Clemson.
No offense, college football.
A little offense. Do better. The same things that I said when everybody complained that Alabama was on top. Out recruit us. Out recruit us.
That's fair.
And then maybe there'll be some parity in college football. The transfer portal has helped that a little bit.
It has.
But it's still the SEC, the Big Ten, and then everybody else. Okay. So yeah, I got Georgia. This Georgia is probably by 10 at least.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you, man. Watching Notre Dame, I've watched Notre Dame for the most part of the season. I know a lot of people have held that Northern Illinois game up against this team. Guys, they just got caught slipping early in the season. Sometimes that's what you need to kickstart a special season. This is a good team. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna definitely say it. I love their running back. I said it last episode. I said their running back is special. He's fast.
Is so good.
Yeah, he's special. He is definitely a special athlete. I don't know what his health status is going into this game. I think he did get hurt, and they kind of told him, all right, we got this game. Don't worry about it. So let's get him healthy and ready for Georgia. Riley Leonard is a game changer. And it's one thing about running quarterbacks against Georgia. Those are always gives that defense headaches. It always does. It never fails. Jalen Milrow had a huge game against us. 2 years ago, Auburn's quarterback had a big game against us. Georgia Tech the past 2 years had a really good, strong game against us. The common denominator, all of them have quality running quarterbacks. Maybe not to the level of a Jalen Milrow, but good enough to run and beat us on the edge. So that does concern me. I'm a Georgia fan. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, you know I'm a diehard fan, but I'm going to keep it real when it comes to the concerns on my team. Beating us to the edge is a concern. Now, when it comes to offensively, I'm not as concerned about Gunnar Stockton as a lot of other people because I've seen that kid play.
Yeah.
I've seen him play, and he's a competitor. He's scrappy. Sometimes he's a little too scrappy, where it's like, okay, you're our guy. You need to chill out. And he did that, but that kind of fired up the rest of that team in that SEC championship when he got put in. When it comes to Georgia playing against Notre Dame, I think the tale of the story is going to be the line of scrimmage. Georgia has had a couple weeks off, damn near a month to get healthy. Yeah. That offensive line will be back and healthy. Notre Dame on the other end, Howard Cross, their best defensive lineman, he missed last game. I don't know if he's even playing this game. I hope he does because he is key to their defense, generating some kind of pass rush, generating some kind of havoc on that line of scrimmage. Their defensive lineman, what's my guy's name? Number 99. Riley Mills, number 99. Yeah. Big dude. Number 99. He's out. He's out with a knee injury. So I'm saying line of scrimmage on their end, they got some injuries. On our end, our guys are getting healthy. That kind of spells bad for Notre Dame and their defense. Georgia's going to be able to run the ball, get pressure off of Gunner. I think that because Notre Dame is such an aggressive man-to-man team, that's going to open up things in the second level. Expect a big game from our tight ends, Oscar Delp, Lawson Lucky. I'm looking at those guys. And I got Georgia winning. I agree with you, Eric. I got them winning by 10. So on to hopefully the Orange Bowl, because I can possibly make that trip. Orange Bowl against whoever. I don't care. It'll be Penn State, I think, according
When
to
is
that
the
bracket.
Orange Bowl? Let me look at this real quick. I might make that trip with you, man.
Yeah, I'm with it. Let's do it.
When is the Orange Bowl? It is
That
January
would be
9th.
9th, yeah. Yeah.
I might can make something happen.
All right, we're going to definitely talk, because I definitely want to see them guys at least once more. More. All right, Eric, great episode, great recording, man. Thank you again for joining us. You got any last words for college football fans going into the quarterfinals?
Well, it's not just college football fans. Let me give a little shout to my fan base here. All of y'all morons that are wanting Jalen Milrow to go into the NFL draft. It's become so loud the last couple weeks.
It has.
My question is why? What are y'all really comfortable rolling with Ty Simpson as our starting quarterback? Because I'll tell you this, I'm not. I'm really not. Are you comfortable passing the ball off to Keelan, a true freshman who does absolutely look the part of an Alabama starting quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I'm not willing to give it to a true freshman. We had Tua doing his thing, but that's different. That's different. Y'all should be wanting Jalen Milrow to come back for one more year, just to give Keelan a little bit of time to learn that offense. Y'all act like Jalen Milrow is the worst quarterback to step foot in T-Town when there was a guy named Jacob fucking Coker that took snaps for an entire year in 2014, and all he could do was hand the ball off to Derrick Henry and got him a Heisman, won us a natty that way.
Yeah.
So please shut the fuck up about Jalen Milrow going pro. If he wants to come back, there is zero reason to complain.
Right. Yeah, it's weird, man. I've talked to a couple of Alabama fans about it. I'm like, Milrow beat Georgia twice. Bryce didn't. Milrow won the SEC championship. Bryce didn't. Like, it's so much love. I get the love for Bryce Young. He's a great kid. Like, everything about Bryce, he's a great guy. But shit, man, Jalen Milrow seems like a really good, solid, quality human being. And a lot of these Alabama fans are just fucking awful about that dude, man.
I'll give you another one. Jalen Milrow made the playoffs. Bryce Young didn't.
Well, he did. He took y'all to the national championship. Y'all lost against us.
You remember? Oh, shit. That's right. Yeah.
His Heisman year. Yeah. But
he lost to y'all, so I try to forget that shit.
True. Never on this side. But yeah, man, I agree, man. Milrow, if you can have, like, me personally, I don't want to see Jalen Milrow ever again.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
I don't want to see Jalen Milrow I don't want to see him get drafted in the AFC North. I'm praying that Cleveland doesn't get smart and say, hey, we should draft Jalen Milrow and tell these other guys to kick rocks. Like, I pray that doesn't happen, because Jalen Milrow is he's a specimen, man. He's a specimen. You just
get my man to Vegas.
Yeah.
Hook him up with Brock Bowers, bro.
Man, that would be an issue, man. That would be an issue. But yeah, man, Alabama fans, let up on Jalen Milrow. Y'all need to honor your guys who actually want to stay in this day and age of the transfer portal, of NIL and money this and selfish player that. That kid is everything opposite of that. Yes, he is getting some NIL money. You damn right. Like, he's done enough to earn that, but he's not a crappy person. He's not a shitty teammate, at least from what I've seen. When y'all benched him after y'all lost to Texas, a lot of these kids would have booked it. they would have said, you know what, Saban, I'm out of here.
Yep.
That he didn't even play against USF that game, did he?
But he was the first one on the sidelines talking to Simpson and Longren about what they needed to do.
Y'all put everybody in there except for that kid.
Yep.
After he lost to a talented Texas team that wound up going to the playoffs. Like, what the hell are y'all doing? Like, but anyway, man, y'all let up on my boy Jalen Milrow. Jalen, go to the NFL, man. They don't deserve you. And I don't deserve to ever see you again.
You just don't want to go 0-3 against Jalen Milrow, man.
I do not want to see that man in Athens next year. So, Jalen, please go to the NFL. Screw what Eric said.
We need you.
Yeah, no. We want you out. Go get paid, young man. Go get paid. But listeners, thank you again for checking us out on Dogs versus All, y'all. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let us know down below who's your team, who are you rocking with. Talk some trash. Talk some trash about Georgia. Talk some trash about Alabama. We'd love to see that kind of stuff. But before you leave, make sure you subscribe to Suplex Dinner Club because we are trying to grow. And I think we're doing a good job, Eric. I think we're doing a really solid job. But
for sure.
Listeners, Happy New Year to y'all. Happy holidays. Take care of each other. Enjoy some great college football. And as always, go Dogs.
Trust your preparation. No, your ass is prepared for this shit for fucking 365 days. I think about the fuckers in that locker room. Think about getting our opportunity. All the shit you went through this week to get ready for this game. Now is when you pay the fucking price. You go out there with energy, enthusiasm. Hey, nobody's going to be cautious. Ain't nobody going to be nervous about shit. Go out here and fuck their ass up. Don't think about scoreboard. Don't think about shit. You think about knocking the shit out of them. Did you hear what Box said on Monday? When I sat in that fucking meeting, I wanted to go fucking play right then. Tore your shit up out here. 2 years ago, fuck your shit up. Goddamn pride and joy. Tell me you fuck these guys up. You go play the right way. You play the right way. You knock their ass off. You stay off the fucking ground. You tackle the fucking man with the ball. The shit's easy. Look at the right shit. Punish their ass on offense and kick their ass on special teams, guys. It's about who the fuck we are. I believe in you. Let's go.